It's as close to time travel as we're gonna get. This Week in Music History with Marty Miller.
Heidi, hi campers, welcome to the little podcast which hammers through a week of music history, always in less than 10 minutes. We're looking at the week April 14th until 18th, the week Joey Ramone died in 2001.
The message on one candle outside CBGB's read simply, "Thanks, Joey."
He saved the music scene, actually.
Tupac with Kiss were out to shock us in 1996.
We need to shock the people. So let's shock the people.
And in 2009, Morrissey was in great form and not walking off stages.
I can smell burning flesh, and I hope to God it's human.
Zipping through a week in a matter of minutes. This Week in Music History, the podcast.
In 1972 this week, David Bowie released Starman as a single in the UK. Now, when he played this on Top of the Pops in 1972, it was one of those where were you when moments. And after that, I suppose things started to really take off for David Bowie and the fan mail got a little weirder.
I seem to draw a lot of fan visits out of people, and a lot of the fan mail I get. A lot of it is awfully nice. I mean, they say, how's your baby and how's your wife and what's your mum's name and things like that. But some of them are worth framing.
Can you tell us one or two of the framed ones?
No, I couldn't really. No, they really are quite heavy. Heavy-duty letters they are.
1975 this week, after rumours that it could be Jimmy Page, maybe Steve Marriott, or even our own Rory Gallagher could be replacing Mick Taylor as a guitarist in the Rolling Stones. There was a press release that confirmed Ronnie Wood of the Faces. And Ronnie's first show was a freebie on a truck rolling down Fifth Avenue in New York City. Ronnie Wood here remembers being asked to join the band.
The Stones didn't want to break up the Faces. They didn't want to say, hey, Woody, leave that lot, come with us.
But did you think...
Which was very nice of them, really, because
yes,
they could have been cutthroat about it.
For sure. But when you heard that Mick was leaving, was there even a fantasy glimmer like...
No, because in the car, I still... Even when we arrived at Stigwood's, I still had no idea of what was going on. I just thought they were sort of talking privately,
2001 this week, the punk pioneer Joey Ramone, real name Jeffrey Ross Hyman. Singer of the Ramones died after losing a long battle with cancer. He was just 49 years of age.
If the Ramones didn't make your kind of music, many of today's biggest names in entertainment are missing the man from Queens who became famous as Joey Ramone. He inspired Bruce Springsteen to write one of his biggest hits called Hungry Heart, and Ramone even made a fan of novelist Stephen King. CBS 2 reporter Sukanya Krishnan was out tonight talking to fans and friends.
The message on one candle outside CBGB's read simply, "Thanks, Joey."
He saved the music scene, actually.
If I say the name Michael Kamen to you, what do you think of? Born this week, the American composer and orchestral arranger worked with so many acts, including Pink Floyd, Queen, Eric Clapton, David Bowie. He actually co-wrote Bryan Adams' Everything I Do For You. Died in 2003, but his birthday this week. So you might remember him as well for the Metallica S&M stuff.
Michael Kamen has composed musical scores for some of Hollywood's most successful films. Among them, Lethal Weapon and Die Hard.
The music is the last ingredient that can help to extract the emotions from the characters.
(1993) this week, David Lee Roth was arrested in New York's Washington Square Park, buying a bag of marijuana for $10.
Lee Roth was busted for buying a $10 bag of marijuana during a police sweep of New York's Washington Square Park last Friday afternoon. The ex-Van Halen frontman, in town to record a new solo album, faces up to 15 days in jail and a $240 fine.
1996 this week, Kiss appeared in full makeup at the 38th Grammy Awards, where they announced a reunion tour. It would mark the first time all four members appeared together in over 15 years. Obviously in the makeup. Introed here by Tupac.
You know how the Grammys used to be, all straight-looking folks with suits, everybody looking tired, no surprises. We tired of that. We need something different, something new. We need to shock the people. So let's shock the people. Now, these my homeboys, and I seen just about everything now.
Zipping through a week in a matter of minutes. This Week in Music History, the podcast.
Going way back to 1960 now and touring the UK at 21 years of age, the singer Eddie Cochran. He was killed when the taxi he was travelling in crashed into a lamp post. The big hit at the time was 3 Steps to Heaven. The taxi driver, a fella called George Martin, not the George Martin, obviously, was convicted of dangerous driving, fined £50, disqualified from driving for 15 years and sent to prison for 6 months. This man here remembers the carnage that night on the road.
And it hit the post side on, and it threw everything and everybody out onto the grass. Well, anything in the road, it was all on the ground, and it was just like a battlefield.
This week in 1994, Pink Floyd started a 4-week run at number 1 on the album chart with the brilliant Division Bell, their 4th number 1 album.
Let's make sure we keep talking.
More Pink Floyd related news in just a moment. 2009, Morrissey walked off stage during a set at Coachella in California, declaring that he could smell burning flesh. Now, Morrissey is a very committed vegetarian, took offence to the smell coming from nearby barbecues and said,
I can smell burning flesh, and I hope to God it's human.
1995 this week, the Oasis drummer and founding member Tony McCarroll was told by phone he was being sacked by the group. McCarroll sued Oasis for millions in unpaid royalties, and in 1996 Oasis agreed to pay him $500,000, and he said, grand.
I mean, I was a quiet one who sat at the back there making plenty of noise, of course. Greg's quite a reserved character, got on with his job. Bonehead, I can credit Bonehead with everything that's mad with Oasis. That's the rock and roll mayhem.
This Week in Music History, a week in less than 10 minutes.
In 2013, related to Pink Floyd, Storm Thorgerson, whose album cover work includes Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, died at the age of 69. He also did albums for Led Zeppelin, Peter Gabriel and Muse, and was never afraid to go there when it came to creating great artwork.
So there was a man on fire, and George, of course, being an illustrator, thought it was a picture, an illustration. I said, oh no, it's real. And these are the days before computers, so it meant setting a man on fire, which we did.
And that is a look at This Week in Music History, April 14th to 18th. Thanks for listening. We'll do it all again next time.
Zipping through a week in a matter of minutes. This Week in Music History, the podcast.
Subscribe now.